Hi, my name is Becca. Welcome to Raising Them Simply. Here we share all about our secular homeschool as a family of 5. Today is our September wrap-up video. Now, if you did not catch my last wrap-up video, I will link it for you in the cards above. But basically, my son had surgery and it was about a 2-week recovery period last month. So we only did school for about 2.5 months last month, and because we homeschool year round, we do a 6 weeks on, 2 weeks off approach, and that works really well for us. So we timed it so that way those 2 weeks that we had off were the 2 weeks we were already going to take off. That worked really well. And I kind of spoke in that last wrap-up video about how it's kind of been like the struggle bus, getting back in the groove of things with school. And I've heard that from a lot of people. I'm not sure what is in the air, or maybe it's just the season of life that I'm currently in right now with 3 young kids. But it has felt so good because the last 2.5 weeks or so that we've been doing school have gone so great. I spoke a little bit about this in our Respecting Our Time as Homeschoolers video. That was my last one I posted, and I will link that for you guys as well if you want to check that one out. But we made a lot of changes before going into this next 6-week period for school. And I'm telling you, those changes have made a world of difference in our schooling. When it comes to reading specifically, my son has dyslexia. Reading has not come very easy for him, which is fine. But as someone who has always done really well in the reading department and not as well in the math department, it's been a little tricky navigating that because my son is the complete opposite. So math comes extremely easy for him. It just always has clicked really well. And when I do see him struggling on some things, I'm easily able to detect that frustration and kind of be able to figure out if it's developmental or if we need to teach it in a different way, whatever we need to do to kind of help him through that difficult spot that he's having with math. It's been more tricky for me to do the same thing when it comes to reading, just because that's always been my strong subject, right? And so it's harder for me to understand and remind myself, hey, it doesn't work the same way for him in his brain as it does for me. And after speaking with some moms and stuff, we just decided that we were going to take a break from All About Reading. Love that program, still 100% recommend that one, but I don't think my son is developmentally ready to continue going on for the next steps, and we need to slow down on that. So we've been doing a lot of game schooling when it comes to reading. We take the word cards that are still in the review section from the All About Reading box, and I will tape them to different random spots around the house, and he has to go on a scavenger hunt to go and find the cards, and then he has to read them to me every time he finds a card. We did a game today where I put the cards on the floor and we set a timer. My son is really motivated by a timer. He really wants to be able to see how fast he can do something. So I set a timer. My son had to run across the room, pick up a card, run it back to me, and read it correctly. If he read it correctly, we put it in a pile. If it didn't, I put it back on the floor, and he had to see if he could do all of the cards before the timer went off, and he loved it. He's loving all these games. We're doing the fly squatter game that we have too. I got it off Amazon. I will link it for you if you're interested, but there's little flies with words on them, and it comes with fly swatters, and he has to swat the fly and say the word. And it's brought a lot more fun back into our schooling, to be honest with you, and it has helped make things so much more relaxed, and I'm just loving that. And I'm seeing a lot more of that confidence build back up in him, which is so cool to see, because just the other day, my second child, she asked my son if he could read a book to her, and he said, "Oh, I can't read that." I said, "Well, no, you can read. You're just still learning." but there are lots of words that you can read. And today when he did that game where he was running back and forth, he was going, yeah, I did it. And I was like, see, I told you you can read. You can read these words. You're doing so great. And it's just so cool. That's one of the things that I love most about homeschooling, is being able to see that clicking and things just working and him understanding things. It's so cool to see. So that's what we're doing with reading right now. We're still doing Explode the Code, which is kind of helping with that too, part of our game schooling, because he thinks that it's a game, and that is all going well. And I will keep you guys updated as far as how it continues to go for us and when we go back to All About Reading. As far as math, like I said, he's always been strong in math, but things are clicking so much faster for him. And I don't know if it's a developmental thing or things just are just the way that the program's being taught, but it is going so well. And we're still doing the 5th day as enrichment. So for the 5th day on All About Reading, it's just optional. And so far we haven't needed that extra review, but I still want to do math. And so we have Beast Academy, and that is actually working really well since he's doing the 1st grade math, but this is the first book for Beast Academy. It's helping solidify other concepts that he's learned before. And it's just going really, really well. So loving those two, still working great for us. And my son is he's always asking to do math. If he had his way, he'd only do math probably. When it comes to science, Seashore Science, we're on lesson 3, I believe. We just finished lesson 3, and that is going so well. It is such a neat approach to how she is taking it. I will show you the book. I'll link the review flip through for you guys if you want, but the Burgess Seashore book for children. I actually never even flipped through this book, to be honest with you, or looked into it at all when I bought the curriculum. But this is like a storybook. It follows a meadow mouse, and there was a water plane that had come to the meadow that he lived in, and he was curious about the plane, so he snuck into the plane, and the plane took off, and the plane then landed down on an ocean side. And so the mouse is learning about all these new creatures and things that live by the ocean that he never knew about before. And that's kind of how they're learning the different animals and stuff by the ocean, which it's so neat. My son actually has always been obsessed with the ocean, and so this is really good for him. And I like that it's a storybook approach. And then the workbook, the student book that comes with it, we are doing the beginner coloring pages one. She has 3 different student books that are included in her curriculum, but we're just doing the first one to make it easy. The coloring page for that coincides with the animal that they learned about in that chapter. I also really appreciate that there's QR codes. It makes it super easy to scan and just pop up on the YouTube video. And the YouTube video usually has to do with whatever animal they're learning about in that chapter of the book, which is really nice. So loving that program. It's working really well for us. And I'm finding that my almost 3-year-old, she is able to learn stuff right along with this, which is great. It's going really well. I'm really happy with it. As far as history, today is like October 4th when I'm reading this or making this video for you guys, but I'll just throw it in here we just finished today the Adventures to the New World with Little Schoolsmiths, so completed learning about the Mayflower. Still loving that program. We're going to take a little bit of a break from history before we jumped into the second bundle, because there's 2 different bundles from the Little Schoolsmiths. We're doing both, and the next one is about Civil War, Revolutionary War, 13 colonies, all that stuff, beginning of beginning of the United States forming, talks about Lewis and Clark, all of that stuff. So I'm taking a little bit of a break from history just so that we can keep going with science and all the other things. But the other thing that I want to do is I want to kind of beef up that curriculum. And what I mean by that is there are a lot of books and show videos and stuff like that I want to coincide with this to help solidify concepts for my son. So for example, there are a lot of Magic Treehouse books that talk about the Plains and the Native Americans and about the Civil War, Revolutionary War, that I can add into that. So I'm going to be adding books to that for those units that it applies to. There's also a show on PBS called Xavier Riddle and the Secret Museum. If your kids have not seen that, it is phenomenal. I love it, but it's these kids who their parents own a museum and there's a time machine. They go back in time with whatever artifact that they found that was in the museum, and it teaches you history about that famous person, but they're all kids, and so it's teaching them, you know, even children can affect history, and all important people started as children at some point is kind of the premise. And it's really, really neat. And I know they have an episode on Lewis and Clark. They have one about Sacagawea. They have just a ton of different things. In the future, I would love to do some sort of unit study that kind of goes with the Xavier Riddle stuff, and just to help learn about famous people and stuff through history. So I just want, that's kind of what I mean when I mean to beef up that curriculum. I want to look at that stuff and take notes and add it into my binder as a reminder so that I don't forget about those resources when it comes time to those things. That will also help because I do the majority of the schooling for our homeschool, and my husband, he'll do like a fun art project, you know, the things that I lack in skills for, or if there's a video or something that I know would help, my husband will put that video on. So like for the first Thanksgiving, my husband watched Charlie Brown's Thanksgiving video with the kids, and they talked about it. So that's pretty much what he does for our schooling. And so I can write all that stuff down, and that would be helpful for my husband to be able to do still some school related stuff with the kids even when I'm working, and it's nice and easy for them. And then it's also going to help with our bedtime stories and stuff like that, because we do the majority of our read aloud like chapter books at bedtime. My son and I will read a chapter a night of a specific book, and that's what we do together. And so that will kind of help guide some of that stuff. So I'm going to take some time off from that just so I can make those notes and stuff, but still loving it. And if you watched my curriculum video picks for first grade, you're probably like, well, what about traveling the states? We are doing traveling the states from the Waldock Way. We have not started it yet. My reason being is that I really want to coincide the states with our history. So we learned about the Mayflower and all of that stuff. We're going to start learning about the 13 colonies, Virginia. We're going to go with Lewis and Clark as they go past the Mississippi River, all that stuff. So I want to try to piece in where I can certain states with our history unit. And we could kind of do an every other day kind of thing for our school. So if we learned about Virginia, for example, in our history, then for the next couple of days or whatever after we learn about that, we'll focus on Virginia the state with the traveling the states curriculum. And then we will go back to history, learn about something else, and then go back and forth type of thing. I know it's not going to work for every situation, but that's kind of how I want to start with. And then my plan is that my son can just pick different states off the map randomly, or maybe we'll do Minnesota and do a deep dive because that's where we live, or we'll do places where we have relatives like Indiana and Wisconsin and things like that, we could do that too. So that is our September wrap up. I'm really excited about how our homeschool is going and where we're moving to. I'm really excited for this next month, and I can't wait to let you guys know how October goes. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Please leave a comment down below. Let me know what you want to see more of on this channel and how your homeschool is going. And please hit that subscribe button. It is a free way to help support my channel and a way for you to be notified of future content. And I will catch you guys next time. Bye.